And we are live. What's going on, everybody? That worked out perfectly. And not because I did a very good job of it, but because it just worked out. Okay, let's talk about toys. I am Adam. This is Highly Articulated, and that's what we do here. I know that there's probably a lot of non-toy news to talk about that takes up a lot of our time, takes up a lot of our bandwidth. I admit it takes up a ton of my bandwidth. It takes up way too much between the companies that I'm involved with and sort of my Monday to Friday work. There's a whole lot of stuff other than toys going on that, to be quite honest, is just draining. It's draining. So let's talk toys, shall we? Not a lot of toy news. I'll be totally honest. Not a ton of toy news this week. I think that's largely a reflection of the other news that's going on. I think a lot of companies that are trying to navigate the current climate are sort of struggling to find answers and struggling to find clarity. And so as a result, I think some pre-orders have been put on hold. I think some shipments have been put on hold, so on and so forth. But I haven't been around in a while, so as that is the case, there's a little bit of stuff that I can talk about. There's a little bit of stuff that is sort of interest to me, and so I'm gonna talk about that stuff, because hopefully we can all just sort of have some time to relax and just sort of like escape the world for an hour. Anyways, very quickly, just gonna say hello to the chat. Josh Brown is here. Larry's Geeky World, Brick Something, Collecting Brothers, Red 5, Gabrielle, Solo Sinner, Brian Brink, Ray Paz. Good to have you guys all here. And good to be talking about toys, because like I said, my so much of my time, it feels like it's spent like just thinking about just the dumbest stuff. But anyways, good to be here. Justin Mohan, is Bushido still happening? Yes, Bushido is still happening. It's just there's been some delays. There's been some sort of things are getting moved around. Because Bushido is a Spiro property, or at least this is the best of my understanding, because Bushido is being done as a Spiro property, and we've already got a bunch of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom stuff in the queue, we are sort of staying true to that plan and honoring that plan, and so the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom stuff is a priority. But sort of once that stuff is once the first wave of the Kickstarter, being the brawlers, is sort of where we need it to be, then Bushido will go up for pre-order or whatever. So all the designs are done for Bushido, and I believe pricing is the next step, and then from there we should have pre-orders. But as soon as I know anything, I will let you guys know, and I'm sure Jason will as well. So Christopher Bouchard is here as well. Good to have you, buddy. No chewing. How are you? Good to have you as well. Snuck in there right after I did the comments. All right, so I haven't, like I said, I haven't done like a proper, highly articulated, normal Saturday afternoon video in what feels like ages. Didn't do one last week because I just wanted to talk about Disneyland. Didn't do one the week before because I was at Disneyland. I didn't do the one before that because I was on my way to Disneyland. Uh, and then, Space Zombies took up the sort of 3 weeks previous to that. So I feel like there's tons of toy stuff that I could talk about, but a lot of it would be, really delayed or like way behind or what have you. So I'm just going to talk about a few things that I'm, interested in or curious about, and we'll call it a day. Trying to get back to sort of what I normally do on Sundays. So without further ado, let's take a look at this I don't know what here it is. Maximum Series Hulk. So Maximum Series Spider-Man, I have my thoughts. I still have my thoughts. I still have my sort of opinions. I still have my feelings about Maximum Series Spider-Man. But, hot on the heels of Spider-Man being delivered to a lot of collectors, Maximum Series Hulk goes up for pre-order. This figure looks amazing. However, this figure looks like the Hulk that I have, and it looks like the Hulk that I've had for years. I don't believe this is an all original sculpt. I think the big difference here is the toe articulation, as well as the soft rubber overlay of the chest rather than a solid rubber piece. So instead of going with butterfly joints, the arms can sort of cross over better than the other version because the plastic is soft. I think that's what they said. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the presentation video for it. I just saw that it was up for pre-order already, and there it is. Price point is $60, so it's $10 more than the Spider-Man. You get a couple extra sets of hands. You get a couple extra heads. You get the clap effects / the punching effects / the whatever effect you want to use it for. It's basically a sort of motion effect. And then you get the other effect there, and then you get a little rocket that can split in two. The figure's fine. I think this figure is perfectly fine. I don't. Again, my big issue with this is still the price point, because I just don't really see what is maximum about this. In the same way that I was critical of the Super 7 Deluxe, the Deluxe series Super 7 figures that are sort of popping up at retail. Simply because of the the language that they're using. Deluxe Super 7 Ultimates or Deluxe Super 7 figures versus the Ultimates, I guess. The Ultimate has everything. The Deluxe has virtually nothing. My question there is like, what's the basic? So where does that sort of fall into things and stuff like that? We're now looking at a Marvel Legends figure that's Super 7 Ultimate's pricing. More than, it's $5 more. And if you sort of compare this figure to something like a Triceraton, which I'm looking at, or Muckman, which I'm looking at $55. Those come with a ton of accessories. They have limited articulation, granted, but I still have questions about not the product, right? I don't have a problem with Super 7 being the price that it is. I don't have a problem with Marvel Legends Maximum Series Hulk being the price that it is. My issue is more with Marvel Legends is a $25 figure, and if you do a Hulk, I could see it being, $40 or whatever, right? A premium price point for a sort of larger scale figure, a premium price point for more accessories. I just think that Marvel Legends trying to be a small brand, or Marvel Legends trying to be an import brand, is the issue for me. And I think when they sort of test this price point and sort of suggest that they're going to be that, what does that mean for the $25 Marvel Legends? What does that mean for the sort of entry level price point for these figures? And I may not have been entirely clear about that when I talked about Maximum Spider-Man, because there were people that said, well, it's a premium offering and it has a premium price. I get that. I totally understand that. And companies can charge whatever they want. They can put pre-orders up for whatever price they want. I have no problem with that. Sell your wares, make as much money as you can. It's a business after all. These are want-based items, not need-based items. This is not this is not the supermarket charging twice as much for bread. This is not this is not eggs, right? This is not gasoline. This is not rent prices. This is not affordable healthcare. We're talking about something that nobody needs, and so they can charge whatever they want and let the market decide whether or not the market wants the product. I just don't like that Marvel Legends is doing a $60 figure. If Hasbro, I don't know, if Hasbro came out with another name for it and just didn't say it was Marvel Legends, I might even be okay with it. It just feels off. There's just something off about the Maximum series to me. And that's all I want to say about Marvel Legends Maximum Series Hulk. I think this looks great. I do. I genuinely do. Like I said, I have a Marvel Legends Hulk, and it's perfectly fine for what I need in my collection. I love the Hulk, but I don't love the Hulk enough to get this one. I think my Marvel Legends Hulk I actually bought in the first appearance with the 2-pack with the Wolverine, and I think I got it at a GameStop at a discounted price of like $30 Canadian, which is like $8 US or something. So I don't know. That rocket looks really cool. The fact that you can split it into two pieces and it looks like you can see the internals of it. That's actually really cool. The effects that it comes with, I think, are also really cool. But could this have been a $40 figure with one less set of hands and one less head? I don't know. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of Hasbro's business. I don't know the ins and outs of their pricing, and so on and so forth. So maybe this is the price that they have to charge for this figure. It's just not. It's just not. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. But that being said, the reviews on the Spider-Man are that it's a really good Spider-Man. That it's the best Spider-Man out so far from Marvel Legends. To me, it just doesn't negate the fact that it's still a Marvel Legends figure at $50. Let's see. Raypad says Max Hulk is such a huge disappointment to me. Reuse for a Max figure is whack. I mean, I think if this was a totally new sculpt, totally new, buck or something like that, I could maybe see the justification a little bit more. Even at the even at the $60 price point, but again, they just used a softer rubber for the upper. That doesn't. I don't know. Justin Mohan says Hulk only has one look. Not sure why people want a new sculpt. I don't know what more they could do. Perhaps make him taller. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I think that's kind of part of it is that like I think what people wanted was butterfly joints. I think I did see people sort of say they wanted butterfly joints. They said we didn't do butterfly joints because we did that thing with the softer plastic for the upper. Excuse me. They did the softer plastic for the upper, so you don't need a butterfly joint. Is the argument that I heard. Make him taller. Yeah, I think he could be bigger. I think Hulk could be bigger. I think we could do with a Hulk that was, hulking a little bit more, but then it's kind of too big of a figure almost to sort of fit on different shelves and things like that. I don't know. I think he's different depending on, the era and the version and who's drawing it and all that kind of stuff. So Ray Pat says double elbow probably should have went with the bikini brief era of burn run and a soft goods torn pants. The hands they provided, I would have went with a burn run head sculpt, Kirby head sculpt. Yeah, I mean it could. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's a million things, and everybody's gonna have a different. When you say the maximum series, it's sort of like should have had every head sculpt that they possibly could have come up with, in my head to be maximum. But And Brick says, yeah, in regards to the $25 Legends, the minimum Marvel Legends. Yeah, minimum series Marvel Legends. It's like the $25 ones now. Josh Brown of Josh Brown Customs says, this is only $15 more than a deluxe, and I see that represented personally. I would, of course, want all new sculpt, and I would have paid an extra 15, 20 for all new, but at 60 I see why it is what it is. Yeah, and at $60, I can see it. I mean, it's not crazy, it's not terrible, but is seeing the value in a $60 Marvel Legends figure a reflection of the fact that they've now sold $50 Marvel Legends figures? I don't know. Brick says, yeah, marketing names are just ways to reframe the products. As you say, if there's a Super 7 Deluxe and Ultimates, what's basic? But it's all just window dressing like large versus venti. Yes, this is the venti series, Marvel Legends. And Thanos says, I don't have a Hulk, interested but broke. Well, the good news is once this figure comes out, Thanos, you'll probably be able to get a really good deal on like the first appearance Hulk, because it's the same Hulk, only not as new and not as desirable. Brick says, my take, it's Hasbro's attempt to realign the brand to the new marketplace, trying to raise prices, probably in response to seeing people pay higher prices for imports and indies more often than before. I think that's a big part of it. I think that is sad to say, the reality of what's going on here, and I genuinely believe that that's the case. That is my personal opinion as well. That I think Hasbro is trying to uh okay, this is Hasbro trying to renegotiate their contract with collectors, by bullying them into higher price points, and then sort of like, and then they'll go, okay, we'll tell you what, we'll backtrack on Maximum series, and we'll just make normal Marvel Legends $35, and everybody will be happy. Um, but we'll see. But I do think that this is a weird. This is just a. I think this is a reformatting thing. I think this is Hasbro trying to get some of that money that they might feel like they're losing. Now, my issue with that is that I think a lot of people that collect Marvel Legends might buy fewer Marvel Legends if they were priced higher. I genuinely think that it's kind of one of those things where Marvel Legends has the place in the market that it has because of its price point, not inherently because of its product. And what I mean by that is when you look at the market and you kind of see like a good, better, best offering, right? You see like the $15 Marvel figure, you see the $25 Marvel figure, and then you see the 80 to $100 Marvel figure. And so you have, that Marvel kids line, you have Marvel Legends, and you have like a Mafex. So you have a good, better, best. And I think Marvel Legends represents the better, but not the best. And I think that Maximum Series is Hasbro trying to get a piece of that best pie. But I just don't think Marvel Legends are the best Marvel figures, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm at. That's my sort of thinking on this. Um, but that's where my head's at. Vaz Zone, good to have you. Good to see you guys. Gady's Toys, Hulk's traps are fire. Thanos says Hasbro may be missing the mark though because I like Marvel Legends because they are generally cheaper. Yes, there you go. So Thanos is sort of echoing, my point. I'd like the improvements to just be part of their development, and they could do upgrade packs. Yes, I like every Spider-Man has been better than the last Spider-Man, right? That's how they get you to come back. That's how they keep you buying that $25 price point figure. I think the $50 price point figure is just jumping the shark. That's it in a nutshell. I think they could have done another $25 figure with that new buck, used it 30 more times, added a couple of those accessories, but given you another version of it in 3 months, and you would have bought that one too to get the extra effects or the extra head or whatever the case may be. I just think that I don't know. I think it's kind of like I think it's just too much for a lot of their market to bear. But we'll see. We'll see. Wesley K says, I've been pulling back from them and focusing on independent lines, but still get some. Increasing the price just makes me want to get less. That's my point. I think we're all, sort of agreeing on, different aspects. We're looking at different, faces of the same sort of thing. It's like the same perspective, just through sort of different viewpoints. Anyways, anyways, moving on. 20 minutes on Hulk was a lot more than I wanted to spend. Because I want to talk about this guy from Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We have the Black Series SM33, or to me, he will always be Smee. I mean, every one of you, I'm sure, is sort of the age that knows what Smee is and who Smee is. And to me, when I saw SM33, I was like, oh, it's Smee. Okay. And he didn't disappoint. He was sort of a comic relief character, a lot of fun. I love this figure. I didn't get any of the Skeleton Crew figures because that would have broken my one of my Black Series rules, or it would have broken kind of all the Black Series rules that I have for collecting Black Series. But I'm kind of hoping that a day comes soon when I see all the kids, discounted and all in one place, and I could just buy all of them, and then that'll justify me buying this guy. Although I do have sort of a little bit of a caveat for Black Series where I could buy droids, because they can fit into other lines and things like that. But this Black Series Smee looks really, really good. You go from the body where he's all sort of crunched down and he doesn't look very threatening. You don't really think much of Smee at first, and then you get to where he actually has these discs on his arm, and he starts fighting the pirates. And then the legs get longer, the torso gets longer, the arms get longer, and you get sort of the fully extended Smee. And you realize that he is a pretty threatening bot. Now, one other thing that I want to point out, because I thought this was pretty cool, is that you do have the empty eye, but it's not always empty. You can put the little rat thing in, or whatever whatever that thing was. He does come with that, which I thought was really, really cool. And that particular thing is represented right here in the renders, just tiny. But the fact that this comes with sort of everything I think you'd need to get with SM33. This is a really cool figure. I like this guy. I dig this guy. I am a pretty big fan of droids, as I've said before. Regardless of the Star Wars property, I've always found the droids to be one of the highlights, and SM33 was no exception. So this is, to me, just a very, very cool figure. Even if I don't end up with all the Skeleton Crew figures, I think there's a very, very good chance that I could end up with SM33. Um, and Larry's Geeky World says he looks cool. I think so too. And I think the sculpt, the weathering, I think there's enough sort of detail on the body that this is a pretty cool offering. And again, I think it could probably fit into a number of different lines as well. But yeah. Gabriel Pinto says, check in, want to say what's up, stay blessed. Good to have you, buddy, and thank you for that. Let's see. Vaz Zone says, I actually do like this, even though I don't collect the Black Series anymore. Yeah, and that's, I with so many lines and so many figures and so many properties, you can't collect everything. That's the reality, right? Or at least that's my reality, and I think it's the reality for a lot of people. You can't collect everything, so you have to pick and choose, and you have to decide if certain things make the cut. And this is sort of one of those things where I like droids enough that I think I might pick this guy up. I don't like Black Series enough that I buy everything. Brian Brink says, "What's your Black Series rules?" Mine is never pay full price for a non-Lucas era character. That's probably not a bad rule. I think that's a pretty safe rule, and I think you can still get most things. My Black Series rules are: it has to appear in The Mandalorian, or sort of in that Mandalorian world, because that's kind of what got me into Black Series was Mando figures. Or it has to be a direct tie to the Forest Moon of Endor, or it has to be a version of Luke Skywalker. So versions of Luke Skywalker, Mandalorian, or Endor. So Ewoks and Scout Troopers and the main characters and stuff from the original trilogy. Do I have any exceptions? The only exceptions that I have to my rules are a couple of droids, because droids are great. And droids, I'll be honest, you can kind of say, like, well, how do you know that there wasn't a K2 droid, on one of the Imperial ships in The Mandalorian, or in near Endor or something like that, because they inhabit the same space and the same world, and so something like a K2SO, gets a pass. SM33, I don't know how he's going to sort of sneak in, but I think he's probably going to sneak in. What's going on, Trav? Good to have you. Larry says I can get behind those rules. The new rule, the sort of amendment to the rule, was going to be Skeleton Crew, because I love that show, and the figures. I just love those kids. So I was thinking I could probably do that, because I don't think we're going to see much beyond, the main characters plus Jude Law's character plus SM33 plus the Wolfman guy. So I don't think there's a huge danger of financial ruin as a result of adding Skeleton Crew figures. But we'll see. Sorry, my nose is really itchy. Staying with Star Wars, but not Black Series. Let's take a look at this. Now, I love Land Speeder. It is, of course, kind of the first Star Wars vehicle that we kind of see, or the first Star Wars vehicle that we kind of like I don't know. I love Luke's land speeder. Okay, like that's my way of sort of getting around to saying like I really really like this. I don't have the Black Series version of this. I've thought about buying it, um, but in a 1/18th scale, being that I'm doing Cyberzoic stuff, I feel like I could almost justify this purchase as well. I didn't pull the trigger on this one yet. But I think it looks good. I mean, visually, it looks clean. It sort of scales pretty well to what I think the land speeder should. You get that Tatooine, poncho with Luke, which again, I could use with Cyberzoic with the Desert Clan. So I think I could fit this into the head canon. I also think that this sculpt is pretty good. The detail work on this is pretty good. The fact that you get the opening hood with some detailing on the engine, as well as some detailing in the cockpit, is pretty impressive. And then you kind of just get like a bonus figure. So I haven't ordered it yet, but I could see myself getting this. And I dig the vintage packaging. I dig the sort of retro packaging. I'm guilty of buying a few things after the fact. I did just recently buy the um, the um, the hallway, the white hallway. Was it from the Tantive Tantive 5? Is that the ship? Anyways, again, just to have it for Cyberzoic, but this thing, this is fun, and I like, that scene is great. So I don't know. Collecting Brother says Brutus showed up at Ross here in the States. I don't have Ross, so if somebody wants to pick me up at Brutus, I would not be upset. I will be at Joe Fest. If somebody's going to be at Joe Fest and want to pick me up at Brutus, if those Skeleton Crew figures show up, somebody please let me know. JMax77 says the packaging definitely makes it more convincing. But then I open everything and I actually throw away all of my Star Wars packaging. I don't keep any of it. Black Series, Vintage Collection, Retro, whatever. I don't keep any of it because I don't have room for it. But yeah, the packaging is very, very cool. And Brick says Tantive 4. Okay. It's Yavin. Is it Yavin 5? I can't remember. I love Star Wars, and I have since I was like 5 years old. But I would absolutely blow it at Star Wars trivia. I don't know anyone's name. I don't know any planet's name. I don't know the ship's names. I don't know anything. I just enjoy watching the stuff, playing with the toys, getting the lightsabers, putting on my Endor poncho, just doing my thing. It's Yavin 4 and Tantive 4. That's lazy. Ted Darklaw, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. All right. So that's Luke's land speeder. Again, cool. You don't necessarily know that I'm going to pick it up or not. But it is cool. And in a world where I wasn't collecting everything else, I think the vintage collection is pretty appealing, and I would love an X-wing and the land speeder and a few other things. But again, it's sort of like you can't collect everything. Anyways, staying with the vintage collection, I have to say that this is so long overdue, and I can't believe it took as long as it did for us to get this figure. This I pre-ordered day one. Because for no other reason than sort of just out of Canadian pride. But the Star Wars Vintage Collection Carson Teva figure is finally up for pre-order. No Black Series, but I'll take the Vintage Collection. Because I think Carson Teva was long overdue. I think Paul Sun Hyung Lee. I hope every time I say it that I get it right. It is very deserving of getting an action figure. of Carson Teva, and this is awesome, and this, as I said, I feel like is long overdue. Carson Teva has been in everything, seemingly everything Star Wars related over the last couple of years, and has played a fairly important role. Arguably a more important role than a lot of other characters that have gotten figures. So I think the fact that we got this is as I said, long overdue. Good little figure. Comes with sort of just, I think, just the right accessories. You get the blaster rifle, you get the removable helmet, and the leather jacket. I think is a cool touch. I kind of want an X-wing more because of this. I kind of want to get one of those X-wings so that I can put Carson Teva in it. But we'll see. I'll start with Carson Teva, and then I might backtrack for one of the X-wings. But yeah, I just very, very happy to see this figure get made. Very happy that Paul. I don't know what to call him. I don't know him. But I feel like I know a lot of people that know him that just call him Paul. So I'm going to call him Paul, which feels way too familiar and weird, and I don't love it. But Mr. Sun Hyung Lee is very, very deserving, I think, of getting this action figure. As a huge Star Wars fan, as a character that is, I think, very, very important now in Star Wars canon, and so on and so forth. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. So just very, very excited to be getting this. And Larry's Geeky World says, "I'm so happy that he's getting a figure finally." Yes, as am I. Mr. Ryan Clark says, "I remember a time when a Star Wars character with 2 seconds of screen time in the background got a figure. Carson Teva should have had one a long time ago." Absolutely agree. This should have been a figure that came out 2 years ago. This feels like justice for Captain Teva. Now we can move on to the other figures that they've sort of not done. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that the police captain that didn't even appear in Force Awakens got a figure. I think it's like, yeah, why didn't Carson Teva get an action figure? It's crazy. I still want the frog people. The frog people from The Mandalorian, I think, would be very, very cool figures. And I think you could do a 3-pack, right? You could do the partners as well as the eggs, the tadpoles. I think that would be a great little set. And Disney actually did a pin, like one of their little pins of the frog people. So why not? But just add that to the list of the figures that they'll probably never make, and that's fine because um, there's tons of figures that will never get made, and that's okay too. Let me find this. I forgot to get this one ready, but there's another figure that I'm pretty excited about. Not from these guys, but from okay, hold on. Get rid of this. Do this. There we go. Can I do this? Nope. All right. Well, we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so one more figure that I'm very, very excited about. Although I didn't see it coming, so I didn't really budget for it and spent all my money at Disneyland, as all of you, if you were here last week, will know. SH Figure Arts is doing Nail. Now, if you're not familiar with Dragon Ball Z, you were probably thinking to yourself, who? Nail is one of the other very proud Namekians, the same race as Piccolo, and another kind of champion of Namek, who is there you go, defeated by Frieza, has his arm brutally removed, and then where's the picture? So this is actually really, really cool. So you get like the growing back arm. So Namekians have the ability, almost like reptiles, to like regrow their limbs. So after his arm is sort of severed, he actually grows his arm back, which is a very, very cool scene where you kind of learn more about Namekians. And I thought there was more on this page, and there isn't, which is fine. But there you go. So this is a P Bandai figure, um, and $80 price point. It's where I'm sort of hitting pause on this one a little bit. I may come back around to this one once the coffers are refilled a little bit. But that being said, I also sort of held off on some other figures, and had to do kind of a pile of loot type of thing on some other stuff. Not even a pile of loot because you have to pay for your pile of loot. But there's some other things I need to catch up on. Maybe before I get Nail, although Nail was in my list of SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball figures that I want. It's not a long list, but I love Piccolo and I love Namekians, and Nail is right up there. Now, Ray Paz says, wait for it to go on sale. They sometimes drop on price. I don't know that this one will, and I don't know that I'm willing. I don't know that I can. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get FOMO, so if I miss out on this one, I won't be that upset. It'll just mean that I can't get it, and I'll move on with my life. Um, but I don't foresee this one going on sale, and even if it does, I don't foresee it going on sale. I don't see these typically change price more than kind of $5, maybe $10. So it's not, to me, it's not really worth the risk, because at the end of the day, because I have to ship it anyway, it's like an insignificant amount that typically gets discounted or whatever. So um, I'll either buy it if I sort of find the right site for it to get it shipped to me in Canada, or not. I can't actually order P Bandai to Canada, so I'd have to have it delivered to somebody and then either pick it up from them or have it shipped. But I can actually order this from a couple Japanese sites, so I may go that route because it's actually a little cheaper for me to go that way, because shipping from Japan to Canada is a little bit less than it often is from US to Canada. Larry's Geeky World says, I'm not too big into Dragon Ball Z, but he looks cool. Yeah, I mean, again, if you sort of just like the look, and I got into Dragon Ball Z without really knowing any of the story. I was watching it in Japanese, so I just really got into the idea of the Namekians sort of just based on look, the green skin with the pink and the antennas and stuff like that. I just thought they looked really, really cool. Mr. Ryan Clark says, so Nail is a gecko? Yeah, sort of. That's kind of, it's kind of what he is, I guess. So yeah, they can grow back limbs. I've seen. I'm just trying to think, and I can't even remember. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in a while. Arms. I think somebody had like a hole in them too, and they even like healed the hole. Like they heal quickly. So I don't know if it's like they can grow back limbs or if they just heal quickly, whether it's sort of like a Wolverine type thing or more of a gecko type thing. Wolverine the character, not the animal. Wolverine animals can't grow back their limbs, but all right. That's pretty much all I had this week, guys. Like I said, I've been away for a while, but there's not been a ton of toy news, believe it or not. Or at least sort of toy news that was entirely relevant for a Sunday afternoon video. Now there was one more thing that I did want to talk about, which is, and I'm going to put it in the chat so that if you're interested, you can go check it out. But I'm not even a Motu fan, but I am a fan of a lot of people that are involved in this project. And and yeah, there I'm a backer. Yeah, I've backed for $5 because I'm not a Motu fan. I'm probably gonna upgrade that to the digital copy, like the digital what are they? I don't know what they call it. But the Fall of Grayskull 2 guys have relaunched their Kickstarter. Their funding goal is way lower than it was before. So they're at a funding goal of $59,500. They're already more than halfway there at 33,560. Um, Fall of Grayskull 1 is on YouTube. It's like a decade old now, done with like zero budget. I'm just really, I'm down for creators doing creative things, and, a sort of a fan made fan project. Um, it's just something that I think is really really cool. So if you're at all interested in Masters of the Universe, if you're at all into supporting independent creators and people just doing kind of cool stuff, I would strongly recommend you sort of pop over to Kickstarter and give these guys a look. And as I said, pledge $1, pledge $5, pledge $10. Get a comic book, get a sticker set, get a poster. Whatever works for you. This is the one I'm thinking. Digital screener. Just to watch it a couple times. I'm not gonna watch it a million times. As I said, I'm not a massive Masters of the Universe guy. So, I'm just supporting this because people that I know are involved, and I think it's really cool. They are, as I said, more than halfway there at 33,000 plus, with more than a month to go. So they got plenty of time. They're going to be fine. So I'm probably going to remind people every week about this, because I think this is a cool project, and I think this is sort of a just you know funding fan dreams is kind of like it's just cool, in my opinion. Ray Pass says, "Wait, aren't they making a real Hollywood movie though?" Yes, they are, and they'll probably make more, Netflix TV series, and they're doing comic books, and this is just sort of another Masters of the Universe thing that you can support if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just sort of wait for the Hollywood movie. You can wait for the animated series or whatever, but I just wanted to bring a little bit of attention to this project, because I think I think it could be pretty cool. Red 5 says, "I wanted to thank the AWOC team for the I think you mean probably the last Kickstarter update. It was helpful in these uncertain times." Brian Brink says, "A Motu movie that takes place on Eternia. What a novel concept." Indeed. But yeah, you get He-Man and She-Ra in there. It's a fan film, right? So this is just supporting, fans who are just people like us that are just into particular properties. It's just sort of a cool thing to support, in my personal opinion. All right, there. That's enough of me. Somebody mentioned this guy. So I will mention this guy, and the piece fell off because George was playing with it. Shout out to Matt Rodriguez, who has done Armies of Ashmore, the Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore. This is, for anybody that is interested, a one-of-one prototype. This was the test shot for Ghost Milwick, who is, if anybody is aware, blue. But they did it wrong. They did it in green. That's a glow-in-the-dark green Milwick. I basically bullied Matt into letting me have that. And it won't always live there. It'll probably go on my prototype figure shelf, which is over there. Although maybe that shelf should be behind me somewhere. I feel like that's a cool shelf because I got some cool stuff on that shelf. But anyway, yeah, very very cool figure. So I helped Matt a little bit with some of that project, and everybody's getting their shipping invoices. I haven't got my shipping invoice. I was involved, and I still haven't got my shipping invoice. So if you're waiting for your Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore figures, Just know that somebody that was involved in the project still doesn't have their figures. I just have that one. Let's see. How bright does he glow? Very bright. Let me see if I can pull up the picture actually, because I think I might be able to. Oh wait, I know where I can find it. I know where I can find it. Bear with me for a moment here. Uh, that is in basically a pitch black room. Um, it glows really well. And for reference, I didn't even realize it was on my desk until I turned off all the lights and turned and took the picture. Right next to him is my haunted mansion, Disneyland haunted mansion, glow in the dark Pez dispenser. Which just sits on my desk, which like I said, I didn't quite realize it was there at the time. Josh Brown says, "Okay, I'm pre-bullying you for a Space Zombies test shot. Didn't know bullying was allowed." Well, you'd have to do hours and hours and hours of unpaid work in order to really qualify to make that request. I think, but we'll see. We'll see. I shouldn't have eaten that Pez, but I did. That was like one of the few things that I bought that wasn't Star Wars at Disneyland. Haunted Mansion glow in the dark Pez. Why? Not because I love a haunted mansion, but because it was glow in the dark. I don't know if I mentioned that when I did the Disney episode last week. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got this week. Anything else you guys want to chat about? Any questions, comments? Is there anything you guys want me to talk about that I haven't? That you think I should talk about? Let me know. Mr. Ryan Clark says, I'm up for hours and hours of unpaid work. You say that now. No, I'm just kidding. Solo Sinner, did you book hotels for Legion's Con? Yes, I did. I have hotels booked for Legion's Con. I am trying to book hotels for Joe Fest. That's didn't know I was going to Joe Fest until recently, and now I have to figure out a hotel room. Legion's Con, we did get booked, and so that's all locked in. Yeah, so that'll be fun. That's November. Wholesome Warlock says Joe Fest sold out like crazy, which is a pain in the butt. I think we could still get a room in that hotel, but it's like way more expensive now. Which I might book anyway, and then just hope that somebody cancels one of the discounted rate rooms. So we'll see. Because that always happens. I mean, people book rooms and then they cancel within the last couple days, and then you can kind of swoop in there, and get a room. That's what I had to do with Legion's Con last year because somebody forgot to get the rooms. It wasn't me. I ended up getting the rooms. But let's see. Larry's Geeky World says, unfortunately, I was unable to get off from work that weekend, so I won't be able to attend Legion's Con this year. Well, you'll be there with us in spirit. Brian Brink says, Legion's Con booked. Crazy that they sold out the entire hotel in a few days. So here's my kind of frustration with that. And this will happen this year. It happened last year, and it happened 2 years ago. Like it happens every year. The rooms go up. People book the rooms because they know that the rooms sell out. Uh, within like the last week before the convention, um, I had we had opportunity to book rooms like several times. Like it, my annoyance, my frustration is the people that are like, well, I'd like to go, so I'm gonna book a room, and then they book a room and like they're never gonna go. You know what I mean? Like they book their room because there's no cost associated with it. There should be like a non-refundable deposit. In my opinion, when you get one of those rooms at a discounted rate, there should be a non-refundable deposit associated with it because people just book like 4 rooms and they're like, "Oh, I booked it for me and my friends," and then like they don't have friends and they are never gonna go, and then those people that are gonna go can't get a room because they had to work or something and they didn't book a room within the hour that they were up, and then it's just chaos. Like people are like, "Well, I got to stay like 10 miles away." Meanwhile, the rooms open up and there's probably empty rooms by the time the event goes around. I don't know, but I just that annoys me. It annoys me. Another thing that annoys me is that they don't offer rooms to exhibitors before they go up for like the normal, like it's not part of the package. Like if you have you book a table and you book a table in November. So like the day that Legion's Con ends, they come around, they go, "Hey, you're going to be here next year." And you're like, "Yep." And they're like, "Okay, cool, we'll put you down." They should just they should give you an opportunity to get a room, and they should give you like 2 days notice before they go up for the public or whatever. The peasants. I'm just kidding. I just think that it's like a pain in the butt when you're a vendor, when you're an exhibitor, when you're a retailer, and you don't have access to it. Wait, is that true? Oh, maybe that's okay. That's fine. Um, oh man, okay. Okay. Well, like I said, I got our Legion's Con room last year, and I was not the one that was in contact as a vendor. So they blew it. Then that's on them, not on the venue. Um, does Joe Fest do that too? Because if that's the case, then I have 2 reasons to be angry at Jason. Um, let's see. Brick something says, "How will your Legion's Con room smell on a scale of 1 to 10?" It'll smell normal. Our rooms are pretty good. We're not really that smelly, so um, let's see. Yeah, I don't get the emails. I should. Literally I should be the one that gets the emails, but there's so many emails that I get forwarded too late, and then I have to fix it. um, Christopher Bouchard says, "Armies of Ashmore." Or armies of Eden. So it's armies of Ashmore, defenders of Eden, and the combat creatures Kickstarter started shipping. I combat creatures didn't do much for me, so I didn't actually order any of those. Things you miss when you're at Disneyland. No, it's things that I miss because I don't get CC'd and my information doesn't get put in the right place. I'm just saying. Um, like I said, I got to figure out a Joe Fest room in the next month and a bit. Um, oh dang! Wholesome Warlock says, "Not sure about Joe Fest. We forgot to book and then saw the message that rooms sold out. We lucked out though, and Ed hit us up when they found an extra 20 rooms at the main hotel." Yeah, I'm going to get in touch with Ed and see if there's anything he can do. I'm also going to call the hotel directly and see what they've got. Like I said, there's still rooms at the hotel. They're just not available on that discounted rate through the link. So I'm pretty good at getting workarounds for a lot of that stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if I can work my magic for Joe Fest. Um, I got to say this. I got to say this. My workaround, my magic isn't like I'm a jerk and I just bully people into things. Apart from that, um, My workaround is being super polite and super patient and super nice, but not hanging up until they basically agree to what I'm asking. That's my workaround. Which is no workaround at all, but just dogged determination to not stay in a hotel that's far away, so that when I wake up in the morning, I can walk downstairs, get a cup of coffee, and just go straight to the floor and not have to deal with driving or traffic or parking or anything like that. Because I hate that stuff if I can avoid it. I am, I am efficiency is something that I am like there's nothing to me that is like I don't know. There's just something inside me that like if there's a more efficient way to do something than the way that I do it or the way that it is available to me, I have to find it and I have to do it that way. I hate I absolutely hate extra work. I hate doing things more than once. I hate doing things with more steps than need to be done. I am, efficiency is probably not even the way to think of it. It's like the most minimalist approach that you can do to like logistical tasks is the way that I do everything. That's why, like I said, I'm polite and I'm patient and I wait, but I only make one phone call, and I make sure that that phone call is the only phone call that I need to make. Anyways, let's see. Wholesome Warlock says, "I believe in you. I believe in me too. Maybe too much." Let's see. No Chewing says, "I bought SDCC tickets this year while standing outside of the Jungle Cruise." I could barely manage to book my next Lightning Lane, ride when I was in the line for things at Disney. I got to get better at that next time we go. Allison Troy says Adam goes Full Metal Karen, the Angry Canadian edition. No, not at all. I do not. It takes a lot for me to get angry. A lot. Yeah, I'm more kind Canadian Karen. Yes, that's a yes. Until I get my way. Yes. That's Canadian bullying. Kind of. Brian Brink says politeness, the Canadian superpower. No, we just know that it works. It's just, it's hard to get offended when you're being bullied politely. Exactly. Yeah. I don't even, I don't think I've ever said, "Can I speak to your manager?" But I have definitely said, "Is there someone else that I can talk to that might be able to help me if I don't get the answer that I need?" But I say it politely, and I usually say like something to the extent of like, it's just what I said, right? Like if this is beyond sort of what you are sort of allowed to do, is there somebody else who has the credentials and the capability to fulfill this very polite request? And like I said, it usually works. So anyways, I'm giving away too many of my secrets, so I should probably end the stream, and sort of send you all on your way with a little bit of extra time to get maybe a bigger snack than normal, or a longer bathroom break before Brick does the news over on his channel at 3:45 Pacific time, so about 30 minutes from now. Anyways, it's been an absolute pleasure. It is always fun to talk toys with you guys. Now, going forward, because I've actually because we effectively own the copyright. I'm now using Space Zombies for Mars music for my intro as well as my outro. Because I can. So enjoy Livin' and a Lovin', the final sort of hidden track, if you want to call it that, at the end of the Space Zombies from Mars soundtrack. This is, of course, the country music tune that Georgia McBride, loves from her favorite artist. So until next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Remember his name. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. But I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. I'll play that just like your daddy taught you. Now that sounds sweet. Guitar picker. So I went to the fridge, grabbed myself a beer. I jumped in the car that I wanted to steer. I told them guys I'll be back in the jiff, but I accidentally